They tried to destroy me on our 10th anniversary. My wife and her family had a secret plan against me. Fire. I turned the tables and exposed everything before we begin. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. My wife and her relatives secretly plotted Operation Dump Daniel for half a year, aiming to throw me out on our 10th wedding anniversary. Instead, I turned their entire scheme upside down in a single evening. After a decade married to Lydia, I genuinely thought we had built something real. We met in university, tied the knot young, and I believed we'd created a solid life. She's in marketing, I'm a software engineer. We weren't hurting for money. Her family was always extremely involved, maybe too involved, but I tolerated it because I loved her. Her sisters Marissa and Talia, plus her mother Vivian, were constantly in our business. I figured that was just the price of marrying into a tight-knit clan. What I never realized was how deeply they all despised me. 3 weeks ago, I helped Lydia transfer everything to her brand new iPhone. She'd been complaining about her old one lagging, so she finally upgraded. While the data was restoring, I signed into her iCloud from my laptop to make sure nothing was missing. She was in the shower when a flood of notifications popped up. At first, I assumed it was work stuff. She's always buried in emails. Then I saw a WhatsApp banner. Operation Divorce Dan. My name is Daniel. I opened WhatsApp web and found a group with just Lydia, her 2 sisters, and her mom. What I read turned my stomach, but I kept scrolling because I needed to know the full picture. Marissa, he's completely clueless. Talia. Movers are already booked. We'll empty the house while he's at the office on Thursday. Vivian, my lawyer buddy has the papers drawn up. We'll serve him at the party. Lydia, laughing emoji, film it in 4K. 10 years of faking it, and I'm finally free of this loser. They'd been scheming for 6 solid months. Our anniversary celebration on Saturday was actually going to be my public eviction and divorce ambush, complete with cameras for their entertainment. I took screenshots of everything, months and months of messages. They openly admitted they'd always seen me as trash beneath their family. Lydia only married me because she got pregnant senior year, a miscarriage she never told me about, which explained the rushed wedding. They'd been waiting for the perfect moment to destroy me completely. They gloated about how comfortable I'd become and how I needed to be taught my place. Vivian called me a nobody coder who never deserved her daughter. The plan was airtight. Lydia would act normal all week, invite me to a fancy anniversary dinner, and instead I'd walk into a room full of packed boxes, divorce papers, and phones recording my humiliation. What they didn't know is that I'd been expecting something like this for years, not the exact plot, but the hostility. The cold stares at family gatherings, the sudden silence when I walked into a room, I'd felt it. So for the last 4 years, I'd been quietly protecting myself. Every asset in my name only, separate accounts they knew nothing about, investments and side gigs that dwarfed what they thought I earned. While they planned for 6 months, I'd been preparing for 4 years. For the past 3 weeks, I'd played dumb, screenshotted every new message, and watched their excitement grow. Lydia even asked yesterday what time I wanted to leave for our special dinner, and I almost laughed in her face. I knew exactly which storage unit they rented, Unit 247 on 5th, whose name was on the contract, which lawyer Vivian was using, and which moving company Talia booked. Tonight is Friday. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'm supposedly walking into my own destruction. Instead, I've got gifts of my own ready. By Sunday night, these 4 women are going to learn what happens when you pick the wrong target. Update 1 Reddit. Yesterday was absolute madness, and I'm still reeling. Saturday started off like any normal day. Lydia was extra sweet, bringing me coffee, reminiscing about our wedding, telling me how excited she was for our big anniversary night. Every word was poison wrapped in sugar, and it took everything in me not to react. At 2 p.m., she said she had to run some quick errands, flowers, confirm the restaurant reservation, etc. Perfect. The second she left, I sprang into action. Here's the part I left out last time, that storage unit. It's booked under MY name and paid with MY card. Talia never deleted my payment info after I helped her move last year. I noticed the charge weeks ago and just waited. Over the last month, they'd been slowly stealing my stuff while I was at work. Winter clothes, old textbooks, tools, anything they thought I wouldn't notice right away. They kept meticulous photos and lists in the chat. I drove straight to Unit 247, emptied every single box and piece of furniture into my own truck. and moved it to a new facility across town they'll never find. Then I changed the lock and prepaid that original unit for 6 months under my name only. But I didn't leave it empty. I filled it to the brim with years of junk from my office, broken monitors, ancient hard drives, boxes of obsolete cables and manuals. It looked like someone had stripped out anything valuable and left pure garbage. Came home, acted normal. Lydia got back around 5 with Marissa and Talia in tow, all three buzzing with excitement. Vivian showed up at 6:30 clutching a thick manila envelope. At 7, Lydia said, "Time to go, babe," and directed me to drive to Marissa's house for a quick stop before dinner. We walked in. They were all standing there grinning like hyenas. Marissa already had her phone up to record. Vivian stepped forward with the envelope. I smiled and said, "Before anyone hits record, you might want to check what's in storage unit 247 right now." The color drained from every face. Talia actually dropped her phone. I pulled out my phone and started reading their own messages back to them, word for word. Pure chaos erupted. Lydia screamed about invasion of privacy. Vivian demanded to know how I hacked private family matters. Marissa called me a sick stalker. They tried every excuse. We were just venting. It was a joke. We'd never actually do it. Until I showed screenshots from yesterday confirming the moving truck and finalizing service of papers. The fight lasted over an hour. Talia said I was dead weight who held Lydia back. Marissa said the whole family had been waiting a decade for Lydia to leave my pathetic ass. Vivian went full mob boss, threatening to use her late husband's connections to end my career and ruin my life. Then I called 911 in front of them and started reporting credit card fraud and identity theft, complete with evidence. They went dead silent. I told the operator the immediate issue was resolved, so no officers came, but the message landed. I left them standing there, drove home alone. Lydia came back later, locked herself in the bedroom on the phone, then emerged with a complete 180. Tears, apologies, it was just talk. My sisters pressured me. "Let's go to counseling. I'll renew our vows, I swear I love you." I didn't buy a single syllable. They think having their little plan blow up in their faces is the worst thing that can happen. They have no idea the real storm starts Monday. Update 2 Monday was glorious. Lydia left for work at 7:30, acting like everything could still go back to normal, even kissed me goodbye and said we'd talk tonight about fixing us. I wished her a great day with a smile. 8:00 a.m. Sharp, I began. For 4 years, I hadn't just been protecting money, I'd been mapping this entire family. Jobs, income sources, vulnerabilities, reputations, everything. They saw a quiet, non-confrontational programmer and assumed I was soft. Huge mistake. Lydia's little marketing agency? I've been doing direct web dev and ad management contracts for 3 of their biggest clients for 2 years. At 8 a.m., I sent each client a proposal to bring everything in-house for 40% less than they pay her firm. By 9, 15 had signed, the third gave verbal yes. Her company just lost roughly 60–70% of its revenue in under 2 hours. Marissa manages rental properties. Her boss, Brandon, and I went to college together. At 10 a.m. I called him, explained, calmly and factually, how Marissa had been using company time, vehicles, and systems for personal revenge schemes, complete with timestamps and photos I pulled from their chat. By noon, she was in an HR meeting facing suspension, or worse. Talia was the cherry on top. She works part-time at a dental office and makes most of her money doing private catering and event planning, built entirely on social media buzz and referrals. Let's just say a lot of carefully timed, very polite reviews and messages from past clients started surfacing this morning, questioning her professionalism and reliability. Her calendar for the next 3 months is evaporating as we speak. Vivian kept bragging about her network and resources. Funny thing, I've spent years quietly buying into or partnering with companies that handle those exact resources. She'll find out soon enough. They wanted to teach me my place. I simply returned the lesson with interest. More updates coming when the next wave hits. Stay tuned. I spent all of Monday afternoon crafting long, carefully worded social media posts about our recent anniversary experience. Nothing defamatory, nothing that could get me sued, just honest, disappointed reviews from a customer who'd hired local vendors for what was supposed to be a milestone celebration. I explained how one particular event coordinator I'd paid for the family gathering had secretly worked with relatives to sabotage the entire evening. I attached screenshots of her own messages bragging about trying to wreck the occasion. I tagged every venue, party supplier, and event planning group in the area and posted in every local Facebook group where people ask for catering recommendations. By Tuesday morning, Talia had already been canceled for 3 upcoming weekend gigs, and several prospective clients had messaged her saying they were going with someone else. But the real fireworks were reserved for Vivian. Remember how she kept boasting about her powerful connections and how her late husband had built an untouchable network that could crush me professionally and financially? I decided it was time to see how real that network actually was. Vivian's husband had owned a small construction firm before he died 5 years ago. She never dissolved the company, kept the license active, the name on file, and occasionally used the business entity for tax perks and to sound important at social events. What she didn't realize is that maintaining an active contractor's license comes with strict reporting rules, insurance requirements, and regular audits if the state suspects the company isn't actually operating. On Tuesday afternoon, I submitted detailed, perfectly polite complaints to both the state contractors board and the city business licensing office. I simply pointed out that the company appeared dormant while still holding active credentials, raised legitimate questions about possible misrepresentation, and requested routine compliance reviews. All public record requests, all perfectly legal. By Wednesday morning, the panic had spread to all 4 of them. Lydia came home Tuesday night in tears. Her boss had called an emergency all-hands meeting because 3 major clients had walked away overnight. Marissa was under formal workplace investigation and facing termination. Talia was frantically damage controlling her reputation while her calendar emptied out. Vivian had already received certified letters from 2 separate government agencies demanding documentation and scheduling on-site inspections. Wednesday evening, they all showed up at the house together. No more fake smiles or pretend sweetness. They were furious, terrified, and completely out of moves. Lydia screamed that I was destroying innocent employees' jobs over a personal grudge. Marissa demanded I phone Brandon and retract everything I'd said, crying that she couldn't lose her income, car payment, and apartment all at once. Talia sobbed that her rent was due in 6 days, and every canceled booking had been earmarked for that payment. She begged me to delete the posts. Vivian, however, switched from threats to negotiation. She dropped the tough act, looked me dead in the eye, and asked point-blank, "What do you want? Name your price to make this stop." She swore they'd learned their lesson, that they'd never bother me again if I just backed off their jobs and businesses. That's when I laid it all out for them. This was never about forcing an apology or making them promise to behave. This was about showing them, in real time, what happens when you declare war on someone who spent 4 years quietly building armor for exactly this fight. I told them everything they'd lost so far was just the opening act, that I had designed every step around the precise pressure points each of them cared about most. I said Friday morning would bring a very special delivery that would make the entire week look like a warm-up. Because they still didn't understand. I wasn't trying to punish them into being nicer people. I was systematically dismantling the comfortable lives they'd enjoyed while plotting to take mine apart. Final update: this is the last post I'll make. Everything I worked toward for the last 4 years landed this past weekend. Friday at 9 a.m. sharp, 3 separate process servers delivered 3 separate packages. Lydia was served at her office in full view of the entire staff. Marissa got hers in the lobby of her apartment building with neighbors watching. Talia was handed her envelope at the dental office front desk. Vivian received hers on her own front porch. They weren't divorce papers. They were eviction notices, and here's the part I never once mentioned in 10 years of marriage. The house Lydia and I have lived in. I purchased it outright 3 years ago with profits from my side projects. Her name was never on the deed, the title, the insurance, nothing. Legally, she has been my guest the entire time. Her 30-day notice to vacate cited breakdown of domestic partnership and was 100% enforceable. Marissa's apartment building? Owned by an investment LLC, I've been doing contract development work for over the past 18 months. Once I flagged the property manager's misuse of company resources and potential liability exposure, they moved fast. Her lease termination cited policy violations and conflict of interest. Talia's little rental house. The out-of-state owners hired me a year ago to run their online rent portal and property website. When I informed them, their tenant had been involved in organized harassment that could damage the property's reputation. They chose not to renew her month-to-month agreement. And Vivian, her situation was the masterpiece. The licensing complaints I filed uncovered multiple discrepancies that triggered reviews of her mortgage, tax exemptions, and insurance filings. Keeping a dormant construction company active while claiming residential benefits created just enough gray area violations for the bank to accelerate foreclosure proceedings. She received formal notice that the loan was being called due to covenant breaches. By Friday afternoon, my phone was exploding. They called separately this time, each trying a different angle. Lydia came home hysterical, promising to cut her family off forever, go to therapy, sign any postnup I wanted, anything if I'd let her stay. Marissa offered to work for me for free, to pay me restitution, anything to get the property owners to reverse the termination. Talia showed up Saturday morning sobbing in my driveway, saying she'd already lost 80% of her catering income and had nowhere to go, begging me to help her keep the house. Vivian arrived Saturday night ice cold. No tears, no bargaining, just a calm warning that I had no idea who I'd angered, that her family had been handling problems like me for generations, and that I was about to learn why nobody in this city ever crossed them. I asked how that legendary network was treating her foreclosure notice. That's when the mask finally slipped. She admitted most of her late husband's old contacts had died, retired, or moved away years ago. The fearsome empire she'd been threatening me with was mostly smoke and memories. After his death, she'd been barely keeping up appearances, fighting debt, and clinging to the image of power to protect her daughters. The company license mess wasn't just paperwork. It was the final domino that exposed how fragile everything actually was. By Sunday morning, reality had crushed them completely. Lydia spent the weekend calling every friend and relative she had. Most didn't want to get dragged into a messy divorce and turned her away. Marissa was denied emergency rental assistance because her job loss was too recent to qualify. Talia slept in her car in a Walmart parking lot Saturday night. Vivian's foreclosure clock was now measured in days, not months. Sunday evening they appeared on my doorstep one last time, exhausted, hollow-eyed, and broken. No yelling, no accusations. Just 4 defeated women who looked 10 years older than they had a week ago. Lydia spoke first, voice cracking, saying they were sorry for everything, that Operation Divorce Dan had been stupid, cruel, and blown wildly out of proportion. Marissa said they knew they'd made an unforgivable mistake and just wanted their lives back. Talia cried through the entire apology, begging forgiveness for ever wanting to film my humiliation. Vivian asked, quietly, if there was any way I could find it in my heart to show mercy. I let them finish, then told them exactly what I'd waited 4 years to say. Every single thing that had happened to them was the direct, predictable consequence of their own plan to ambush me on our anniversary, strip me of my home, and broadcast my destruction for laughs. The only difference between their strategy and mine was execution. They failed, I succeeded. They offered money, favors, total submission, anything I wanted. I told them nothing they possessed held any value to me anymore. They had shown me, in high definition, what their family considered acceptable treatment of someone who loved them. Now they were living inside that same standard. I shut the door while they stood on the porch discussing where they were going to sleep that night. It's been 3 days. I've seen Lydia's car parked behind the grocery store where she now sleeps. Marissa has been crashing in the 24-hour laundromat lot. Talia and Vivian rotate between big-box parking lots in Vivian's car so security doesn't notice them. The texts and voicemails keep coming, the same 3 sentences in different voices, getting more desperate every day. We're sorry. We didn't mean it. Please. Lydia left me a 40-minute voice message last night that I haven't finished listening to yet. I don't think I ever will. That's the end of the story. They wanted to teach me my place. I simply enrolled them in the advanced course and they're still attending every class. Thank you for being part of our community. Your likes, comments, and shares help us bring more unbelievable Reddit family stories every day. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a shocking story.